Hi, if you're planning a trip to Lake Como in Italy, let me give you the full, honest review. Yes, it looks like a postcard, but there are definitely a few hidden pitfalls. So let's go step by step. When to visit, how to get there, where to stay, how to get around, and whether it's really worth it. This video is an extra to our main video about exploring Lake Como, which I recommend watching first if you haven't already, and I'll leave all the useful names, coordinates, links, and tips in the description below. If I missed something or got anything wrong, feel free to leave a comment and correct me. Let's start with the weather. From April to May, the temperature ranges from about 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. That's when the gardens start blooming, and there are fewer tourists, a great time for taking photos with flowers. Summer gets hotter around 30 degrees Celsius and way more crowded. It's expensive, but perfect for sunbathing and swimming. September is one of the best months, still warm, with fewer tourists. In October and November, it gets chillier, around 15 degrees Celsius, and the weather becomes unpredictable. Like in spring, it might rain and then be sunny 10 times in one day. Winter is about 10 degrees Celsius. Yes, it's cold and many places close, but it might still be nicer than muddy or freezing conditions back home. Now let's talk about airports. There are a few around Milan, but don't overlook nearby cities like Bergamo, Verona, or even Turin. Milan is about 1 to 1.5 hours away by car or train. Bergamo is similar, but if you take the train, you'll likely have to transfer in Milan. Budget airlines fly into several airports, so you can find tickets from as low as €20 up to €200. It's worth checking all the nearby airports. If you're traveling by train, Trenord or Trenitalia trains go from Milan Central to Como San Giovanni. That takes about an hour and costs around €5. There's also a train to Varenna Essino, which takes about an hour and costs roughly €7. From Bergamo, you'll almost certainly need to change trains in Milan. There's also a direct shuttle from Bergamo Airport to Milan, where you can then catch a train. Taxis from Milan or Bergamo to Lake Como take about 1.5 hours and cost around €150. Driving is the most convenient way to explore the lake, but there are some caveats. Car rentals in Milan or Bergamo start from €25 a day, but you'll need insurance and a deposit. Roads are narrow and full of tiny speeding cars, so I highly recommend getting full coverage. Most insurance providers require a deposit from €100, or they'll say you're liable for up to €1,000 or more in damages. Some websites offer additional insurance, but it may not cover mirrors or tires. Also, your credit card might include rental car insurance, so check that in advance. Let's talk about where to stay. There are bigger towns on the southern side, Como and Lecco. These are residential towns with shops and some sites. They offer the biggest range of accommodation, but you'll need about an hour to get to famous places like Bellagio or Varenna, even longer by ferry. Staying in Bellagio or Varenna is the most convenient since you're right in the heart of the sites, but it's more expensive, gets booked quickly, and lacks big supermarkets or services. As an alternative, the northern part of the lake is the least touristy. It's harder to reach but offers more budget-friendly stays. You might even snag a big villa for a low price. If you're driving, there are tons of apartments, villas, and houses all around the lake. Prices for apartments start at about €80 per night. Hotels are around €100 and up. Bellagio and Varenna, expect double that. The good news, there's a solid ferry network connecting towns like Varenna, Bellagio, and Menaggio. Ferries run every 30 minutes during the day, less often at evenings, and not at all after dark. Day passes are about €20, or you can buy single tickets for around €3. Taking a car on the ferry costs around €10 extra. It's easier to board as a foot passenger. If you're bringing a car, you might need to wait for 1 to 2 ferries because of queues. Ferries are a great way to explore the lake since the lake is shaped like an upside down Y. It can take a long time to drive around. Now let's talk about driving around. There are these tricky zones called ZTL, limited traffic zones. They're marked with the round signs that mean no entry, but locals with permits can enter. Don't follow the car in front of you because they might have a permit and you don't. Always check the signs. It's chaotic. Traffic, tourists walking everywhere, parked cars, 10 road signs in a row. But pay attention. There are cameras that automatically issue fines of €100 or more. In popular towns like Bellagio and Varenna, it's hard to find parking after 8 or 9 in the morning. There are large parking lots about 10 to 20 minutes from the center, or parking garages. I'll leave coordinates for those in the description. Parking usually costs around €2 per hour. Free parking exists, but is extremely rare. What to see? Bellagio and Varenna are the top picks. Besides the towns themselves, the must-sees are the villas and gardens. In Varenna, there's Villa Monastero, not so much for the interior, but for its amazing gardens that stretch for over a kilometer. Spring is a great time to visit when everything's in bloom. There's also Villa Balbianello with beautiful gardens and an interesting history. They even filmed Star Wars scenes there. Another is Villa Carlotta, which has a botanical garden. There's also Castello di Vezio above Varenna with great views. Most entry tickets cost about €10, sometimes with small add-ons for the house or garden. There are dozens of villas around the lake, each with their own gardens or local attractions. But honestly, after visiting a few, they start to look alike unless you're really into antique furniture. The gardens, though, they truly stand out. Now, about food. This is Italy, so fresh pasta is everywhere. That's not really a novelty anymore. You'll find it in any major European city. But what you should try here is the seafood super fresh, and the fish from Lake Como is especially tasty. Also, don't miss the fruits and vegetables. They're ripe and delicious. Local dishes worth trying include polenta, lake fish, risotto, tiramisu, and of course Italian coffee. Expect to pay around €15 for a pizza or pasta. Coffee is a couple of euros. Tiramisu is about €5 and up. Dinner for two with wine, around €70 and up. Tourist areas are more expensive, but in spots where locals eat, it's often cheaper and tastier. If you're cooking yourself, keep in mind, tourist towns like Bellagio and Varenna don't have big supermarkets. You'll find those in towns like Como or Lecco places with Coop, Carrefour, or Lidl. Village stores exist, but the selection is limited and prices are high. About the roads, many of them are very narrow, and some are in poor condition. Locals drive like they're on a racetrack in tiny Fiats, so stay calm and drive safely. Don't speed, there are speed cameras everywhere. Driving is still the most convenient way to explore Lake Como. Just make sure your accommodation includes parking. Not all places offer it. If not, plan ahead where you'll leave your car. A few extra tips. Arrive at villas early, before the tourist rush. Sunrises and sunsets are gorgeous and perfect for photos. Buy ferry tickets online to skip the lines. Bellagio is the most crowded spot, but there's also Varenna and Menaggio less crowded, still beautiful. You can rent a boat and enjoy stunning views from the water. Speaking of trains, many people head straight to the city of Como in the south, but it's far from Bellagio, about an hour by transport. It's smarter to take a different rail line to Varenna. Varenna itself is worth visiting, and from there you can catch a ferry to Bellagio, explore, and return or continue to Menaggio or Como. You could see the main sites in a single day, but it would be rushed. Better to stay for at least a few days. Since there's a direct train from Milan, you could also stay in Milan and do day trips. Lecco is another good option. It's on the way to Varenna, has lots of accommodation, and good transport connections with buses and boats. A few downsides. During summer and even late spring, the crowds can be overwhelming. Prices go way up. Parking is a nightmare almost everywhere. Not every town has large parking lots. The villas are beautiful, especially the gardens, but if you're not a fan of old interiors, they may start to feel repetitive. Also, public transport doesn't run late, especially off-season. Tourist info is limited. Few info centers. Signs are sometimes confusing and only in Italian. Ferry and bus schedules change often and aren't always updated in Google Maps. Actually, Google Maps can be risky for driving. It may route you through restricted zones, ZTL, that aren't marked in the app. But if you're after nature, romance, photo spots, boats, and historic villas, Lake Como is absolutely worth it. Just plan ahead, expect crowds, and prepare for higher prices in peak season. I'll leave lots of useful info in the video description, coordinates, names, and more. And if you leave a like, drop a comment, or subscribe, it really helps out. Thanks a lot, and see you in the next video.